belong to the apocalypse. Will there be sex monsters? Yes, there will. Yes, there will. Yes, there will. Yes, there will. Will the sex monsters love me? Yes, they will. Yes, they will. They will love you.
Guys, we're dumber than ever. Welcome to Ancient Wisdom. Something like that. Get wise with us with the lessons that we have long forgotten. I think I'm going to illustrate this week's theme with a little tale. It's not Aesop this week, but it's an ancient Indian tale called The Blind Man and the Elephant. So basically, there once lived this asshole who went to go see some blind men, and he's like, yo, blind. Y'all don't know what an elephant looks like. You don't know nothing. And the blind man like, come on, man.
We blind.
Just because we blind don't mean we don't know what an elephant is. We Indian. And he's like, all right, prove it. So they go to an elephant, and all the blind men, there's like 4 or 5 of them, they touch different parts of the elephant. One of them touches the trunk. He's like, I know what an elephant is, man. It's like all floppy. Of course. And then, but the other guy was like, are you sure about that, dog? He's touching the tail of the elephant. He's like, it's kind of really thin and hairy at the end. It's like, come on, man. And then another one's touching the leg of the elephant. And he's like, no, it's kind of like a trunk. It's like thick and sturdy. And the last one is touching the tusk. And he's like, no, I think an elephant is sharp and pointy. And then the asshole comes, y'all are all wrong, man. It's a combo of each. Something like that. You know, and
I guess they were all wrong.
They were all wrong.
It's a little bit of both.
These
baby.
blind men don't know nothing. But here's the thing. We all know a little bit about what's in our own lane, about what's in front of us. But we lack the entire picture. How do we get that? Well, we're going to find out today with chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh.
So how do we know about the pieces? Any ideas, any opinions off the bat? First of all, we're doing it right now in Ancient Wisdom. We're talking to people, talking to each other.
The pieces
we are reaching out.
Are all you can feel from your perspective, Mitch.
That's right.
From your edge of the elephant.
Limited to feeling the edge of the elephant.
You're not big enough to hug the whole elephant.
Oh, that's a good one. You couldn't if you wanted to. I like it.
I think at the same time, we're all a piece of this giant happening going on.
Evan's saying we are the elephant too, man. We are the tusk.
That's right.
You know?
or
And
the
what
tail,
is
whatever the
elephant?
situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Depending on
different situations call for different things.
call for different body parts of an elephant.
Different strengths, different weaknesses.
Very true, my friend. And that's kind of the theme of chapter 13 of the Gita today. And I'll kind of start by saying we might get very confused with the terminology. But that being said, let's start with Poja's favorite part, the title.
Woo!
I'm going to do my best here. Kshetra Kshetranjna Vibhajna Yoga. Sounds exciting. That's what I got to say.
It sounds painful.
Ow! Yeah, right?
Ouch.
Even as that came out, man.
Krishechnya. Sounds more like Slavic. I
You could read it for yourself. I probably did a perfect job pronouncing that. And some have translated it to the field and the knower of the field. But it's also, I've seen it translated as nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. So there's going to be a lot of words. You know, try to hold these in mind. But we're going to start with one here and dip our toes a little bit. Arjuna says to Lord Krishna, I wish to know about nature, the enjoyer, the field, and the knower of the field. Where he comes up with this, I have no idea. But we have 4, so those are going to be the big themes today.
Those are the 4.
Those are the 4. Those are the 4
Enjoyments.
parts of the elephants.
Yeah.
Any ideas so far? Do we want to take any fun guesses?
Not just what you have of the elephant, but what the elephant knows of itself.
What the elephant knows and I do not.
Yes.
I think I agree. It's like those 4 elements are personifying every lived experience.
Oh,
you could
okay.
be one of those 4 things at every given time.
Given time, that's what you're
Yeah.
saying about the elephant. Yep, very true. I like it.
But they're all dependent on each other, kind of.
Nice. Yes, very true. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be a good theme too, especially when we get into this weird terminology and stuff. But right off the bat, Krishna goes on to tell us about one of the 4 right off the bat. So this is going to be the biggest clue to start us off. This body is called the field, and one who knows the body is called the knower of the field. So we definitely know one. We got a clue to the second one, kind of, that the field is the body. Field, knower of the field, enjoyer, and nature. I'll keep saying it. Arjuna, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies. This is Krishna talking. And to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. Okay. We're going to do this a little differently today. I'll kind of explain what you're hearing because it's going to get confusing. So this is saying that God is the knower of the field. Some might call it the Atman. I won't get too bogged down with that sort of Indian terminology, but I'll throw it in there for fun. So what I'm hearing you say, Krishna, is that the action of God is called knowledge. What God does, the verb of God, is called knowledge. Very interesting. So you remember the hierarchy from last week? We got into a fun hierarchy. I even have it as a separate post on the channel right now, where at the top of the hierarchy, being closest to God is be a monk, go to church, just follow the rules, give up the fruits of action, meditation, and way down here,
Yes.
to start, is know yourself. So this is interesting. It's talking about the very bottom of that hierarchy is the action of God, is to know yourself, aka know God.
Because you would think, well, I might think, and have thought that,
And will think.
will think that you have to attain so many higher up things to attain knowledge of God.
Damn, yeah, so very deep. This is saying you don't even really need to get very high yet. If you even just know yourself, you are back on the path, my friend. And he goes on to say, now hear my explanation of these things. The field, aka the body, contains a lot of things. I want to know what you guys think about these things. See what jumps out to you. The ego, the intellect, the unmanifested, the 5 elements, the 5 sense organs, the 5 sense objects, consciousness, and will.
Whew. A lot of questions.
A lot of things in that field called the body.
Man,
called the field.
do we have time to go through the 5?
Certainly.
Oh, man. I want to go through the sense objects first.
The sense objects first. So those are hatred, desire, pleasure, pain, and the aggregate, my friend.
What is the aggregate? Just like everything making you tired.
I forget. Yeah, exactly. All I know is a black gay man once described aggregate to me 15 years ago as a bus. It's an aggregation of people. You share a bus, a small confined space for a short time. It's not a group. You don't know these people. It's an aggregation of people. And then you go your way afterwards. It's like coming together of sorts.
Okay.
And then a really confusing one to me was the unmanifested. Ego, intellect, unmanifested. 5 elements. Doing something before you do it, or subconsciously, or having a thought, having an action before it's even done is part of you.
That's all I do.
So deep to me. That's all I do, man.
I just live off instinct.
Shit. Ultra instinct.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I just think that's so hyper interesting that God considers that a part of yourself. Almost as if, we could get into the free will thing, that'll be later. But a part of the self is stuff that even hasn't happened yet, that you haven't put into action. And from a psychedelic standpoint, that feels so real, like it was always gonna happen. It's part of you. It needs to happen in time. Even unmanifested, maybe a thought that you had that you didn't express, that you didn't completely go for.
Oh, it's like an unactivated part of you kind of thing still.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. The unactivated, the uncommissioned, the decommissioned part. Or maybe, you have a bad thought. Oh, but I don't act it out. So it really, man, doesn't it make you think about how people perceive you in this world? Like the gods of Olympus would talk about, why are you so interested in the approval of man? Why do you want fame and power? You should be interested in the approval of God, being worthy, being useful to your fellow man. But we pretend that we're better people than we actually are, so we could be remembered fondly instead of actually just being good. And it's so hard, it's so difficult, it's so subtle. But maybe we all have these evil thoughts and we try to pretend like that's not part of us just because we don't act upon it. Therefore, we can miss an entire part of the elephant. We can miss a whole region of experience on this earth.
Or maybe worse, you think the elephant is just one thing that you touch.
Oh, even worse. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, the whole
you think
elephant,
it's just a thing.
The whole elephant is the ear.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
it.
people fall into that. That might be the most common pitfall of humanity.
You know what I love about these stories? It's like you said, another episode where they all are trying to say the same thing. Because in that story, I see the Plato's cave. Because there's guys in the cave that can't see what the other guy has just gone out and seen. That might as well be the elephant.
Yeah, very true. So many times throughout history, there have been awakened men. And I just know this for a fact at this point. There have been awakened men, so they come up with something. Oh, you see something, but, maybe not the whole picture. In India, it's an elephant because they love elephants.
They have. Yeah.
That's what they got. In Greece, they got a cave because there's a lot of rocks and shit on the shoreline. But you just do what you know, and that's the sort of manifestation of personality too. That's why culture's so important. That's why culture's destroying us right now, because there really is no culture, especially in America and the West. We just throw everybody together and say, "You're fine." But there's no unique culture. People don't have identity anymore. We can't talk about the leg of the elephant to the other guy who sees the tail of the elephant, because it's a fucking mutation of all of them put together. It's like a blob of shit in a science experiment from the Wuhan lab.
Ooh, that's a good point, because the guys who are touching different parts of the elephant, with their mind, since they're blind, they're making up what the rest of it is, and it's totally inaccurate.
Right, absolutely. But maybe I'm over here, touch this part, I'm like, oh, but you forgot about this part. And if he's wise, he'd be like, oh, look at that. That's interesting. Wow. So there's more to it, you're saying.
And the guy who could actually see the entire elephant, the others might not have even been blind. It probably is all just a metaphor.
Yeah. And of course, the asshole thinks he's seen it all, but he doesn't have the spirit of the elephant. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. So even he's a piece of shit. So now I'd say, how about you guys? We know the body. We know the field. We got one of the three. So next he goes on to explain what is knowledge, or what is how I define the action of God. It's going to be a little long. Humility, modesty, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, serving the guru, cleanliness, steadfast and self-control, renunciation of objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of evil, of birth, death, old age and disease, non-attachment to children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, resorting to solitary places, detachment from the general masses of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and the philosophical search for absolute truth.
Wow.
All these I declare as knowledge, and the contrary is ignorance. So that's why I say knowledge is sort of the action of God, or the desired actions of God. This is what he wants you to do. This is what he wants you to be. Because isn't that so strange? Like, this is knowledge?
It's like,
would you have thought that this is knowledge?
It's right? It's like almost like a sense of adventure, a sense of like drive, a sense of that manifest destiny, like the things that you like feel like you want to do, is what I feel like you described.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
Like natural intuition of wanting to go and do something. Those are all the things like you said.
Oh, I like that a lot. Maybe could be defined as intuition as well. I like that a lot because sort of the intuitive good nature side of the soul or the self. Because I always had this fun thing. Might be unique to me. I've never heard anyone speak about wanting to want. This is such a big concept. I've lost friends over this. Mitch, oh man, you and I should do that one day. Me knowing you have no intention of doing that, but I want to. And I said, it took me years to think, you say you want to, but I also don't think you're lying. So I found out that you just want to do something. How deep is that? You wish you wanted to be a good person, but you don't. You wish you wanted to go to church, but you don't. You don't even want to. You want to do these things.
Sometimes wanting to do something, for me, I almost have like a, how can I put this? I almost don't want to say that I want to do something because I'm like, man, then I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, I got to put my money where my mouth is.
Exactly. Like, I got to be careful what I say.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right? Because I'm going to do it. I got to commit to people.
Yeah, see, that's
so
cool.
I say something, I better damn well say it correctly.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to have to do stuff.
Good. I'd say that's higher virtue, because if you're even putting it out into the world, make sure there's a chance of doing it.
Right.
So all of these thus declare to be knowledge. What is contrary to these is called ignorance. Right? So that's very important because I found it funny, even in my life, as a young person, once I was called ignorant by a teacher. And I'm like, ignorant? That bitch is calling me stupid. And come to find out, but that's not really what ignorant means, but that's what's implied, is that you're stupid. But ignorant is just to ignore. So I think it's funny how ignorance gets defined as being stupid sometimes, aka to ignore God is stupid and evil. You are ignoring God, the true way, like Poach said, the intuition. It's intuitive, but you're not doing it. You just want it. You are ignoring that which you should do. Therefore, it is defined as stupid. It seems dumb to not do that.
That's why wanting to want, I like how that relates to the passage you read about detachment. That really long thing about what to do, it seems to be holy or something like that.
Right.
Because I think it's that list is telling you exactly not to want. It's just don't try to change anything. Just let it be as you are.
That's so deep. See the wave collapse. Put the want and want, two negatives, make it a positive.
Yeah, just say, all right, I want to want this. Okay, that means I don't want to at all. So just leave it at that.
I like that, and even just being honest with yourself in that regard. Deep. And then verse 13 here, I shall now explain the noble. Oh, God, here's an explanation again. Just kidding. Brahman, the spirit. He's using the word Brahman. So Brahman is the spirit, sort of the real nature. I see it as the opposite of Maya, which is the illusion of the world. Brahman, the spirit, it lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. He is everywhere and hears everything. He is the original source of all the senses, yet he is without senses. Although far away, he is also near to all. Although the Brahman appears to be divided, my friend, he is situated as one.
Ooh, I think that's because our when we're lost, maybe in our head, maybe he is far away because it's really an internal thing. But then when we come back to the moment, he's right here, and that was where he was all the time, but it's just our state of mind.
Long, baby. Been waiting for you. They also call it the dual mind. When you're in duality, there's always yes and no. There's always hate and love. There's these opposite things, but really there's a underlying connection between them. The non-dual mind, which is sort of just, even by definition, a calmness. You don't have to rip apart the mind to make all these definitions and say that the trunk is the elephant. It is the elephant. No, like, you don't know. I swear, if I would teach the world one thing from beyond the grave, is that you don't know. You just don't, man. You can't know. Maybe AI, future gods will tell us, but you don't. You, as yourself, can do nothing. So stop saying that you know so that you could finally be a real person. For Christ's sake. So I think it's so funny he's talking about, I will now explain the knowable. And I'm like, that seems pretty unknowable, even as I'm trying to explain it right now. It's just very funny. But I think it is deep because remember that the field is us. The body is the field. So it sort of ties us to the universe as one as well.
I don't know if this relates or not, but yesterday I was sick all day from like 2 a.m. until 6 p.m. But there was like a beautiful moment in the middle of all of it where I was just like, wow, this is the one time where I'm purposely not near any electronics or my phone or anything, and I'm fully in this moment of being tortured in hell because I'm so sick. My body hurts so bad.
That is pretty deep.
But I was like, man, it's kind of nice though. I don't remember the last time I had a moment to myself because I'm so addicted to the external world.
Dog, you know,
it was a full day.
I'm going to say here on Ancient Wisdom, a lot of people may not agree, but I don't think diseases are from germs, dude. I think diseases are something that you need. They're of the spirit. They come when it needs. It gave you like a rest.
Yeah.
I remember when I got COVID, it kind of sucked, but I remember I was tripping sack, and like besides all the pain, I'm like, this is awesome. There was a moment when I'm like, this is fucking dope. I'm like tripping sack. and you know, like Evan said, you come to yourself, you're given what you need when you need it. If you find yourself, if you really paid attention, you'll see a lot of these things about yourself. You have a really bad week where you're depressed, you know, you're hating everybody, you kind of been affected by a demon, and then before you know it, you're infected by a disease because your immune system is trashed due to your hatred of everything. That's how people get cancers. It's I learned recently that a cancer is just a cell that sort of duplicates the wrong way, and it wants to survive just as much. How does it survive? It doesn't know what to do but to duplicate, and it grows. Even the hatred itself grows. And of course, God goes on to say, I am this, I am that, Brahman's this, Brahman's that, you know, as he does.
I am between the trees. I am the water. I am the air. I am there when you drop a penny. I am.
It's like you read it. Oh. And so I skipped that for your mental sanity here. And he goes on to number 3, which is nature. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities. Material nature and the living entities should be understood as beginningless. So a few clues here. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So that last line is saying things that change, anything that happens, any version, it's all products of the beginningless and the cause.
Oh, because we could never not have material as long as we're here to experience it.
True. So, I mean, I'll start the conversation by saying, does this not sound very similar to the Tao?
Does to me.
Nature, the beginningless. There's even a line in the Tao that says the Tao is the mother. Know the mother and you know the child.
It's like you can't.
It is without beginning.
You can't have an elephant without the field. Where's he going to stand?
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Ooh, very deep. That was a koan pose. Oh. What if there is no beginning? In the West, in the Abrahamics, we say God created the earth in 7 days, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of Native American lore as well. Everyone knows about the world on the turtle's back or whatever, but there was countless of those. There's always a beginning. The Egyptian story, there was a beginning, you know, there's heavens, and then the Osiris got lost and then he came back or something like that. But what if, just what if there is no beginning?
Is there an end?
It also, that would imply that there's no end as well.
I saw this random ad on social media the other day, and it was like, oh, scientists discover that the universe is even older than we thought, because it gets to a point where it actually inverts in time and goes backwards in time.
Whoa.
There's a dimension that goes backwards in time.
Wow.
Right. And then it's funny to see everyone's reactions, like putting a laughing emoji or something like that. Then I'm like, wow, I don't really care whether or not that theory is true, but I think it's funny that people think that's hilarious, as if they know what's really going on.
Yeah. Ha!
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then, if you believe quantum, they say that electrons, we know electrons because they move forward in time, but positrons actually move backwards in time. What does that mean? Couldn't tell you. I don't think they could tell you.
Oh, man.
But that's just like science, just like the double slit experiment and the wave collapse. It's just something that math tells us about this universe. How strange. Do we know what it means? I almost every day think about Rome, and I think about the double slit experiment. I think about those two things every day of my life.
Mitch, how do magnets work?
Let me tell you. Just kidding. No, you can't. You can't. Because nobody knows. They just do.
What do you mean?
Shout out Richard Feynman. that interviewer was about to cry. I think it's a perfectly reasonable question. How do magnets work? Dog, they just do. Like, you have to accept that you're going to die one day. Get it together.
That's how magnets work.
That's how magnets work. You're going to die, you stupid bitch. God. So I thought that was funny that people have different ways to deal with things. That's kind of what it is. It's all about death. Another big lesson from ancient wisdom is that it's all about death. How we deal with just becoming, coming into this world, and the fact that we may not be here forever. What is it all about? It's all about death. Everybody's attitudes, everybody's myths and stories, everybody's ideologies, they're all about death and related to impermanence, that they won't last here. That's where their attitudes and their insecurities come from. And I think it's so funny that really in the West, being obsessed with beginnings makes me think you're really obsessed with reality. Ooh. What is real? Oh, Mitch, disease comes from germs, not spirit. Germs are real. I could look at them. Like, we're so obsessed with what's real.
Ooh, the cause.
But you're looking at the cause, right? The beginning, the cause, very deep, Evan. But you're just looking at the tail of the elephant. That's all you could see. And you're going to tell me what the trunk looks like. You don't have a new fancy 3D AI modeler. You don't got that, dog. You're just a blind guy. You are blind. That's what this story is telling you. You are blind.
Wow, that's deep. Germs not causing the sickness. I like what you were saying earlier. It's a spirit. It's your state of mind that purges your present moment to give you what you need. Speaking of purge,
dude, this is another thing that I can't really explain, but the ayahuasca experience is really goes hand in hand with the idea of the purge. And the first time I did, I was fine. But the second time, I understood, again, this won't make sense if you're obsessed with reality. What's real, man? Dude, I found a deep insecurity of myself, a deep flaw with my nature, a story that I've told myself over and over that's not true. I found it searching through my body as a spiritual semen, and I just found it in my gut, and it exploded. It was too much for my consciousness to handle, and I barfed it out. You purge out that which you cannot handle. It's powerful, and nobody could tell me that that's not real. That's how it works. That's why some people don't barf with ayahuasca. Some people do. It's not like you drank poison and you must barf. No, it's 50-50. It's whatever you are. There's these spiritual things, and I could go on to list all day, every day about the spiritual nature behind things.
Dude.
I was talking to a woman.
That's crazy.
At work who just won't do things to better herself. In the sense that she's sick and she'll complain all day, but she doesn't believe in meditation. She doesn't believe in breath work. She doesn't believe in the spirit. All right, suffer and die. She won't even hear it. She won't even listen. And I just pity you. I'll pray for you.
It's funny you're talking about getting sick. Yesterday when I was sick, I would get nauseous every time I thought of something that I didn't want to think of.
Oh, dare it you.
And I was like, and I tested it out unintentionally. I would stop thinking about it, then I would think about it again. Then my stomach started curling up.
Awesome.
I was like, what is going on?
crazy.
Yeah, it's like something wanted me to behave a certain way.
Yeah, and another thing, I was talking to my grandma, a few months ago or something like that, and God bless her, but I think it's a boomer thing in general, just not having access to internet. I don't know, where she's like, I was complaining about this to my doctor, and she said it's really this, and then she told me some deep shit, man. Everything's connected. Ooh. Hot take, y'all. And I'm like, what is that? That seems so boomery that's like the deepest thing they've ever heard. Everything's connected, man. Shit.
Yeah,
It's like, obviously this is connected to this by this.
You know how many times I had somebody, like some old boomer guy, tell me about, hey, you ever see the fungus documentary on Netflix? Did you know everything is connected?
Right, yeah, everything's connected.
Think him as nerves on the end of
I'm like, bro, have you been taking some fucking acid? What the hell? Everything's connected, man. Yeah, obviously.
pull the wool from your eyes.
Like this is getting to know yourself. It's the lowest level. Everything's connected, man. Oh my, yes,
so
obviously.
stressed out about it.
I'm freaking out, man. Everything's connected. It shouldn't be. But that's what it is, right? Then you think about fungus, like, oh, why is fungus connected to trees? Like, they shouldn't be. Or even worse, I can't see the connection. I could see germs. I could see the ass of the elephant. But the things that I can't see, I don't believe in. And really, I wouldn't even believe your eyes anyway. Instead of like pretending that you know the rest of the elephant, what I recommend is not even pretending like you know what you're touching in the first place. You're a blind man touching an object. You could kind of describe it, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, I always love that G.K. Chesterton quote where he talks about things exist that look like they shouldn't exist. Like a giraffe or a hippopotamus or something like that. These things look like they shouldn't exist, yet they do.
Yeah. Who just came up with that one day or something?
But you can imagine actual mythical creatures like a griffin or a hydra or something like that.
I guess that's true.
But the real things are more
fiction.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what we have is, I call nature the Tao, and I also call it the origin without origin. So we got 3. We're on our journey to the 4th, which is the enjoyer. Yet in this body there is another. A transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul.
Super soul.
Known as the Super Saiyan.
No, the enjoyer, yeah. It's just like someone's just going to do what they want, and that want is going to be like a seal that just slaps its ass on a rock. That seal just had...
Why'd you do that? I felt like it, man.
Yeah. He's bound to enjoy it.
He's enjoying
there's
it.
bad
Seal
things
did not
happening in
analyze
life,
it.
so there's got to be enjoyable things going on here too.
Yeah,
But
right.
the seal was like, man, that's what it is, if you ask him.
Yeah, and I like how Evan picked out the words overseer and permitter. It's like, I'm going to let myself have a treat.
I deserve one.
I deserve one. That's the enjoyer. I know I shouldn't. But so one who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed, may actually see.
Whoa. It's kind of the
2 in 1, baby.
The admittance that you're not acting on your own kind of thing.
Pretty cool. I would say so. I would certainly say so. That there is 2 in 1. Yeah. That you're not alone. That it's not just you. You could break down the words. You think that you know, but you don't even know you. You think you know a piece of the elephant. You think you know the elephant, but you don't know the elephant. You don't know the piece of the elephant. You don't even know you, because there's another part of you that you don't even. There's nothing that you know. That is the bottom line. That is the lesson of this. Like, you can't even know that which knows, because it's not you. The knower of the field is God, Brahman, the super soul, and the Atman.
Wow.
Pieces of the self. And but not the full self, not the self that you think it is.
And the elephant isn't necessarily an object. You touching it is a relationship with it. It's like there's two things going on. It's the elephant being touched and you touching the elephant.
I think we'd be much wiser if we simply saw it as a relationship. And I think that's where the enjoyer comes in. I don't have to say I'm touching it. I don't have to say I'm touching it. There's just I and it.
A touching going on.
There's a touch. Yeah, keep the touching. I'm touching it. Just keep touching.
The verb.
Let go of me, let go of it. Wow, that's really deep. I like that a lot. And each one of these words, we got Atman, we got the enjoyer, and then we got the Brahman, or even maybe the Maya, the reality, and the relationship. That's so cool. You could break down the words into spiritual concepts too. And I think you're much better if you just keep the verb. There's less congestion, less turmoil, less anxiety in the mind. One who sees the super soul in every living being and equal everywhere does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination.
This is a great one. If he realizes that everyone has this perspective like you do, then you really get it.
Yes.
Then you really get what it's about.
Fucking cool. I like that a lot.
Damn, everything alive is like me.
Yes.
We're all connected.
We're all connected. No! Can't be!
Can't be.
Yeah, wow, very true. There's a humility, a knowledge to that. Just endless positive adjectives that
at least it gives you respect. At least, like, all right, that dude's like me. I'll respect him because I would get pissed if that happened.
Very true. And does this not remind you of simply treat your neighbor as yourself? Now, it's not obvious that people have come up with this in the past. It's really not. I think that there's something deeper. That's how I know people have been touched by God, touched by the Holy Spirit, and really gone inward. Because they come up with these things. I could just as easily be a psychopath and kill and destroy for my own gain. But I need
Odin.
for Odin. But I need to believe in life after death. It's reflective of my view of death, first of all, and my closeness with God, and the fact that you can feel the same thing that I feel. So it's sort of the same that God and the Holy Spirit is within us and seeing deeper than just the personality. I remember Ram Dass used to have this fun story when he started to become more enlightened and stuff like that. He's like, the weirdest thing happened. I still see all my idiosyncrasies. I still see all my flaws, but now I'm totally the same if I'm alone or with people, and I can now treat everybody the same because I see something within them. I don't look at the personality. I barely even listen to what they say. I just see the soul. And that's sort of a stage I believe you could get to with this path. One who can see that all activities, to your point, are performed by the body. So perfect. Which is created by material nature and sees that the self does nothing.
Wow.
Actually sees. So that's exactly what you said. So cool that it just leads one to the other like that. One who sees that actions are the body. So, I mean, let me bring up the most dermal, of course. It's kind of talking about free will again. The body, you kind of know not what you do. The body coming from Tao, which is created by material nature, which we defined as Tao, sees that the self does nothing. He can do nothing of himself.
Whoa. And I think about a coworker who says weird sayings from like his grandfather who's dead.
Yeah.
And I never thought that was a symptom of the body, but it is, because it's something that he heard and vibrated his eardrums and was implanted into his body.
Connected, man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But I see his habit as like, oh my God, this guy, but it's really his body.
Yes.
Doing this.
Now you're hitting upon a good point, right? Because what did Jesus and what do the actual spiritual people close to God say? Forgiveness is tied to God. To forgive is divine because you know that you are like other people. You know you have done wrong in the past. So you forgive others because they're no different than you. I remember even Watts talked about blame, right? Because you could also say, who's to blame here? Do I blame you? Do I blame me for getting mad at you? Do I blame your parents for creating you? Do I blame God for creating both of us? Like, where does the buck stop?
Who's responsible for this?
Who's really responsible for me not having a good time right now?
It's you.
And it's kind of you, but then, you know, who is you, man? It's all connected. Buy ancient coin on sale now. I think Trump said he's gonna put it in the reserve.
That's why I want to learn how to smelt metals, so I could like mint my own coins of things.
Yeah.
You know,
you're gonna have to start getting fucking hobbies soon. I'm talking to you, world, because AI is gonna take over everything. Me and Poach were talking about it on the way here, just like we always talk about it. But what is the future of humanity? What can AI not do? I really think it's personality. I think it's fun little hobbies, just enjoying yourself, getting to the spiritual. Ancient wisdom might even be ahead of the game. It's way back ancient in the game. And I think it's also future in the game once AI takes over all the artificial things that you have been thinking you are since the Industrial Revolution. You think you're just a cog in the machine. You think you have to work. You think you have to provide. But what if it's really just about personality? I remember when I was young thinking, foolishly, that, man, if I get a good job, I'll get a good woman and I could have a nice house and a family. But as I watched too much Fresh and Fit, I realized that, oh my God, women are fucking evil. And they would just want to take that from you, and they just want to enslave you, basically, with their cunning. But what if you take all the evil factors out in 20 years when like money is no thing and they just give money to people because robots are creating all the value? Then your value returns to what it was in ancient times. Ooh. To just a personality, to just how cool you are, how intelligent you are, how fun you are, how funny you are.
Wow.
And it's almost so ancient that this is how I thought when I was 5. Oh, what woman doesn't care if I have money? I'm interesting. I'm a nice guy.
Wow, that's an interesting prediction for the future where robots are taking on all the stress of life while humans can return to their more divine connection and interacting with people. Just a personality, like you said.
You will spend time with who you like spending time with, regardless of what they can provide for you.
I feel like we're almost like there, like with the influencer thing, like in a world where like everything is taken care of. That's what you look at.
Yeah, very true. That's why I think ancient wisdom will age very well, man, because people are going to return to the spirit when they see all the materialism is not worth it anymore. And all this reminds me of when Jesus said stuff like, "By myself I can do nothing. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just. For I seek not to please myself, but him who sent me." Man. Or when he said that one time, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you shall bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing."
I can't snap that with one hand.
Yeah, it's just they say it in both religions. They say it around the world. If you look closely, if you come close to God, you'll see that there are people who've got it. And there's certainly people that don't get it, are just trying to take your money, your time, and your sanity. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities, which are due to different material bodies, he attains the Brahman conception. Wow, I just said that. That's crazy. Thus he sees that beings are expanded everywhere. When you become close to God, you will see the Brahman conception. That's crazy.
Beings are expanded everywhere? That's kind of suggestive.
Very suggestive.
Like there is one and then they're expanded across like a web kind of thing.
Man, yeah, I like that a lot because it's kind of like a few weeks ago we talked about even the subtle but powerful difference between God is everything? Is God everything? Or is everything God? So subtle, but so deep. And it depends on your different type of personality. You need to use words to get people to understand. You need to say them in different poetic ways. Okay, God is everything. I don't know what that means. God is everything? Oh, everything is God. To me, that makes more sense. That kind of clicks.
But then we just hear everything expands from God in my eyes.
Right.
That's what it sounds like.
So is
to me.
everything God or is God everything? Which direction do you like seeing time? Does it expand or does it contract into one? You know, contracting into one for me brings it to a point in the mind. Instead of starting at a point when you don't know God, you can't really expand it into everything. And you don't know everything. You don't know the elephant. And also reminds me of when Jesus said, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. You need to, that is the Brahman conception. And I say, you know, why else would anybody say this unless they knew the Spirit of God in that sense? The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, right? Although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul is situated in the Brahman vision, does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. So it's making it very clear that there are these two distinct natures in one, and he describes it using the sky. Just because there's a plane in the sky doesn't mean they're one. They're both sort of occupying the same space within the soul. So God is truly in us. What does this mean? This is what Christians get wrong, or dare I say, are just afraid to approach this topic more likely. The I am God discussion. I am God in a Western sense is very satanic.
It's Satanism itself.
Satanism itself.
Definition.
Absolutely. But what if I were to tell you, as the Easterns do, that, okay, you're two in one. There is God within you. So I am God, yes. But there's also you within you. There's two within you. Then all of a sudden, oh, wait, it's not so satanic. And I dare I say that if you told that to a Christian, they might even believe the same thing. If you said it in the right way.
I don't think the West likes mixing objects and definitions.
Wow.
It doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe the East is better off with it.
Right.
But the West is like, no, that's not. I'm me.
It's been, it's very strange, and that's why I was so confused in the past. I'm like, don't Christians believe God is everything? Come to find out, they don't believe God is everything. They think he's a transcendental being who created the earth, who was present at creation but not part of it.
And it made dust, and we're of the dust.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, but it's funny that the Christians who aren't as educated in that regard might say, yeah, oh, God's everything. Ha! Gotcha, bitch, you're not Christian. Yes, you have free will, but you also don't. You don't, but you do. You don't. These conversations don't exist. And once we really see that you don't know what a piece of the elephant is, you don't know what the elephant is, you don't even know what the self is. Really, you don't know anything. So how are you going to know what free will is? How are you going to know if you're God or not? Stop worrying about this stuff. You know what's satanic? I'll tell you what's satanic, Poach, and the rest of the world listening to this, is constantly thinking about this stuff. You're confusing your mind. You're going where it dare not tread. I have free will. I don't have free will. I'm God. I'm not God. Who cares? You shouldn't be thinking about this stuff anyway. You should be situated in the Holy Spirit. And we got the big finish here. One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and the owner of the body can understand the process of liberation from this bondage and also attains the supreme goal. Ooh. And there it is. The Bhagavad Gita said it far better than I could have. There is a difference between the body and the knower of the body. And the more you think that these two are sort of combined in a way that your greatness is the greatness of God, that spawns the Satanism that Christians are so afraid of. So basically, in conclusion, we have, you could think of it as a little sandwich here, where you have nature, which is the Tao, the beginningness, a word that we use for what we don't understand, the substrate of the universe. And then from that spawns the apple tree. And the apple tree is you, it's the field, it's the body. But then within that tree, there are many apples called the enjoyer and the knower. One is you, what you think you are you, and one is God. And they come together to spread seeds upon the world. But let's get back into a different Eastern philosophical treatise with Mitch translates the Tao. Might end up just being part of it. Here we go, y'all. Mitch translates the Tao, chapter 54. One who builds well does not dismantle. One who holds well does not release. Descendants continue their offerings. If one cultivates virtue for oneself, the virtue becomes real. Cultivate virtue within the family, and the virtue will spread. Cultivate virtue in the village, and it becomes long-lasting. Cultivate virtue in the country, and the country will become prosperous. Cultivate it in the world, and it becomes universal. Do it for self by observing the self. Do it for family by observing the family. Do it for village by observing the village. Do it for country by observing the country. And do it for the world by observing the world. By these means, I know the world.
The Tao.
The Tao, ever confusing, ever interesting. Any first impressions?
This is trying to it's a well aligned Tao with our topic today.
Damn,
I think.
deep.
So
Hell yeah.
and I think it's talking a lot about what you have to do as like your intuition kind of that we were talking about. Like what are you supposed to do?
Right.
And it's talking about all the good stuff you're supposed to do to get closer to God. Basically, this is like a checklist of good things.
Yeah, from our knower
directions.
section.
Yeah. It's like, well, this is what you have to do, and this is why you should do it.
Right.
And you'll be happy.
And it the whole thing is sort of leading. It's telling us that the self perhaps is the world. If you do it for yourself, it is perhaps the path that we talk about so often. If you just do it for yourself, if you just get on the path, the world may be on your path. Because here's something that people don't like to realize too, the spiritual nature that's very subtle, is that you are the world. I say it's so sad because most people don't realize it. If you fix yourself, you fix the world in a real yet spiritual way. If everybody just fixed themselves to bring heaven to earth, if everybody fixed themselves, we'd all be fixed. And that spiritual nature spreads too. People see it. And then when they see it, they understand it. And because you have to see things for yourself. You don't listen to people's words. If you're honest with yourself, you realize you don't hear what people say. You see and understand how they act. Am I correct?
I wanted to say something similar to that. Yeah, it always starts with the self first. So whether you want the family, the village, or the world to be, what's the word? The adjective.
Cultivate virtue.
Yeah, if you want virtue to exist in any of those areas, that again, it's always the first starting point, the baseline of the hierarchy, the mustard seed. It all starts and ends with you because your family is going to be a direct reflection of how you are. Same with the village and the world.
Practice what you preach. Any one of these phrases, like you really can't bestow something upon somebody else that you don't have. So one who builds well does not dismantle. You must first build well. then you won't be one who dismantles. Once you hold well, you will not release. Descendants continue their offerings. Fucking deep. That was the one that was confusing me. But even in discussing it with you guys right now, it all comes to make sense. Like, descendants continue their offerings. What is that? No. If it starts with the self, the descendants continue the offerings. If you really fix yourself, those who you talk to and your real descendants will also embody that same spirit. They will have a huge head start in embodying that spirit, but it's so rare, especially now, that we've forgotten it completely.
So everything you have a relationship with in the world is, in a way, a descendant of virtue.
Absolutely.
If you act with virtue?
I think so. The descendants of action, even if not just physical descendants. Because what is time, right? If not a descendant, we see it flowing on. We see it as a result of our actions in the present.
There's no way to really build besides this instruction. Like, this is the instruction for quote unquote spiritually building. Whatever building the Tao is talking about, it's giving you all the instructions to build properly here. And that's why I keep thinking it's like a checklist. It's like a here's how. It's almost like the opposite of 10 Commandments. Like, don't do this. This is like, this is how to do it.
Awesome. I like that a lot.
And I really like the verb of dismantle too, because that at first I thought of physical structure, or like a piece of artwork that you dismantle or something like that. You don't build something now I think about interactions you have with people. If you dismantle them or cut them down kind of thing, it's only going to bring more of that.
Man.
It's only going to make for a destructive family or village.
I think that if you follow these, your descendants will follow the cycle.
Certainly. They have a huge head start anyway. Yeah.
Yes. This is going to help you and your descendants and the village.
But the saddest part is that usually one who discovers these things don't have descendants. I think that's kind of the secret to life, unfortunately.
Yeah, the people that actually get enlightened don't do any of these.
Yeah, it's just one of those sad truths. But that's why our descendants can be many. Our descendants can be interactions. And by these means, I know the world.
Wow.
So y'all know these means, and you shall know the world. And what did the Gita say? Know the world, know the self. Therefore, you know God. So stop pretending like you know when you don't. Stop touching the ass of the elephant and saying that you know what the elephant is. And you will be that much closer to ancient wisdom. Thanks for joining us. This has been episode 73. Catch you next time.